Well, the National Inquiry into Missing Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls is holding hearings today in Labrador after asking Ottawa for a 2-year extension to finish its work. Since the inquiry began in 2016, it has been bogged down by high-profile resignations, criticism over its organization, as well as a number of other issues. Joining us from Winnipeg this morning is Sandra Delaronde. She's the co-chair of the Inquiry's Coalition for Manitoba. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm curious about the reports saying that the inquiry is now asking for an additional $50 million on top of the more than $50 million that was handed out initially for this inquiry. How will more time and more money make a difference?
Well, I'm not sure that it would make a difference under these under the current process and under the guidance of the current commissioners.
So
I have spoken to many family members in the last 24 hours, and they're not very hopeful as to the outcome of an extension.
do the families that you've been speaking to, do they feel like more time is needed?
I would say the majority of them overwhelmingly said no. The other family members had felt that it was important that those that have not shared their truth with the inquiry have the opportunity to do so. But they have very serious concerns of how the process has been going up to now.
Sandra,
and don't expect it to change.
One of the criticisms of the inquiry since the very beginning has been the fact that it does not look into policing. I want to ask you about the Colton Boushie case. The RCMP watchdog is now looking into the conduct of officers who investigated the death of Boushie. This is a look at policing. This is what the inquiry says has been missing. Would it be better to put more time and money into these types of inquiries as opposed to adding on to the current inquiry into missing murdered Indigenous women and girls?
Well, the families and advocates have asked for a review into the policing investigations when it comes to Indigenous women and girls, and we've found even in Thunder Bay or in the Colton Boushie case that there has been challenges to how investigations take place with respect to Indigenous victims. So. And even last night, speaking to some of the family members, that they are not satisfied with the ongoing investigative process, and that we know in the pre-inquiry process that was the number one concern of family members that presented to how the inquiry should unfold.
So if the ask is out for $50 million more dollars and more time, but the families are saying that doesn't satisfy them, what would satisfy them, Sandra?
Action. To date, you know, on one hand, governments refer to the number of reports that have already been done and the number of recommendations. And yes, that's true. But it is incumbent upon the government to implement those recommendations. And that's what families want to see. They have put in place over many years, over many inquiries, recommendations for change. And in fact, the implementation of the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples would not have costed as much in terms of taking action as this inquiry and its extension is asking for.
Sandra, good to have your insights on this as we continue on with the inquiry as it stands. Thank you so much.